Hi, everybody, and welcome back. I am so excited about this episode today because I've got some really, really cool information for you and somebody amazing I cannot wait for you to meet. I'm Emily, the founder of Sunshine Botanicals, and today's whole episode is all about ingredients, active ingredients, and knowing what's inside all the amazing products you use on your skin and in your body. We're coming into fall and winter and understanding to keep our body and immune systems built. There's some information we need. But today I want to talk to Jeannie Dunn, Miss Jeannie Dunn of Red Moon Herbs. Jeannie is the real deal. She is an amazing herbalist and has helped produce my active ingredients for all of our products. And Jeannie is, if you want to find an herbalist that truly knows how to make medicine, she is carrying my husband's work forward. So welcome, Jeannie. Welcome to my show, Jeannie Dunn of Red Moon Herbs. And she's going to tell us all about everything, especially the energetics of plant medicine and wild crafting. What does that actually mean when you're looking at a product on the store shelf to say, what's in this and will it really help me? Jeannie, tell us how to sort through the noise that everybody's hearing online.
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm here in Appalachia, the Asheville, North Carolina area, and let's see, we do the wise woman tradition is an old standing tradition with Red Moon Herbs, and it's about harvesting the things that grow around you. So a lot of times we do forage some things we that have naturalized here in North America that were not native. We also use those, but it's all about harvesting what you see in peak season, and in winter, that might be roots. In spring, it's young shoots, and in summer, it's flowering tops like this. This jewelweed is flowering right now. It's in prime, and now that we're moving into fall and late summer, you're going to see more goldenrod flowering. So that's what we do. We work with the plants fresh, and we use different menstruums or the liquid based on what constituents are in the plant.
Jeannie, I've got to just jump right in and tell everybody my fascination when my world did a 180 and I went from medical aesthetics to herbal medicine. When I understood the science and the power of medicinal roots and plants, it rocked my world. And 30 years further down the line, here we are. It's truly incredible to watch someone like yourself be able to find raw materials and convert them and know how to extract the medicine from these beautiful plants that we can blend into finished goods, which is what I do as a product developer and an esthetician. When I came to North Carolina and we went on an herb walk, you really rocked my world. And guys, I want to tell you that on the Sunshine Botanicals YouTube channel, there is an episode where Jeannie and one of our other friends, who is also an amazing herbalist, her name is Heather. We
Book
literally
with
took
Heather.
a walk. There you go. What you
Yeah,
got? Show me.
Heather's new book on
Oh,
backyard foraging.
awesome.
Yeah, Gia. Yeah.
Guys, we have time today to get into the high level of information, but I want you to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can go in and really, she'll get deep down and dirty, well, like dirt under her fingernails and the whole 9 yards to help us find medicine that makes your skin look amazing. How cool is that? In a world where there's noise and an expert every day, a new one every 15 minutes that says they know everything about everything, we go on a super deep dive to produce the products at Sunshine Botanicals that radically transform aging and problem skin conditions. Jeannie is one of the trusted resources I have. She's one of the herbalists that literally wildcrafts the things that she's talking about right now. And like she said, wildcrafting means they're not cultivated, they're not grown necessarily in a garden, although that's good too if it's an organic field. But wildcrafting is an art, and it's really incredible to be able to have somebody that knows how to do that, bring in the raw materials so we can extract the medicine. So she's got some resources. And when she's talking about foraging, let me just point one thing out. When she's talking about what's growing right around you. My husband, Dr. Philip Fritchey, who was my partner in the original herbalist that started this whole thing, he would teach all of his students, God and nature is so powerful. And what we don't realize is that the plants that we need the most are typically growing right around us, and that's the energetic side of all of this. And it's really amazing how that works. So that's a deeper conversation for another day, but it's true. Once you see an abundance of a particular type of plant on your property, you might want to look it up, see what it's used for, and you might find a connection, in your own world, that wow, it's right here, right in my own soil. So Jeannie, I see some of your beautiful bottles there, and I'd love for you to talk to us for just a minute about production, and when help these folks that know nothing about this, when they read a product label, to be able to identify plant names and understand what's there, and a little bit touch on briefly the process involved, because it's not just the ingredient, but how do you get it out of the plant without all the details, but how do you get it out of the plant? And what's the processing method where you maintain the energetic, powerful force of that plant? Because not only is the plant or root itself important, but how you process it is equally as important. So could you touch on that for us so we can kind of
Sure.
understand? Uh-huh.
Absolutely. I do agree with you and Dr. Phil about paying attention to what grows around you. That's extremely important. Sometimes people will come back to me and say, "Oh, I didn't even notice this plant until I really needed it." Like suddenly during 2020, 2021, Lobelia inflata, which is supportive of respiratory health, was suddenly very abundant in the wild. So it's those observations are really important. We have to be careful on our observations of when to harvest a plant so that we can process it with the most vibrancy and the constituents are present. The thing about having something from the wild that has to fight the elements, it's not the you might not see a huge stand of it. You may have to walk for miles and you see these plants in smaller stands. They've fought drought, too much rain. And so what we find is that the constituents in those wild plants can sometimes be heightened instead of just cultivating in a row. So there's that. And then something like, I've got, well, wild cherry bark syrup has some really cool wild ingredients, but St. John's wort, there is a studies show there's a native one that we love, Hypericum punctatum, and there's also the European one that has naturalized here that they are trying to get rid of because it caused some photosensitivity in cattle that were grazing on it. But that's Hypericum perforatum. Now, so studies show hypericin is higher in perforatum. But when we process the wild, that we've cultivated some of the native wild one that's punctatum, when we go in the wild and get that, it is an intense red because the hypericin is that red like color you see, when you extract it. And this is an oil, and you can see what Saint it's harvested around St. John's Day. And a lot of people, the blood of St. John the Baptist is a thing in, religion. But this time of the year, summer solstice, is really important that you get flowering tops in the heat of summer or the beginning of some people call that midsummer, but it's what we call the beginning of summer. So getting that plant, making sure it's not a wet day because you don't want extra water, and processing it. And we hand chop things. We do use Vitamix and a grinder sometimes if something's very woody and bark like, but we process in small batch. And I think it's about looking at the sources of did they use small farmers and foragers? Did they use medium size? Did they use companies with a great reputation like Mountain Rose Herbs for their dried material, or Pacific Botanicals, or maybe a small regional farmer that you can source from? That's important questions to ask for your.
That's so very true. And the time and energy and that we've always put into Sunshine Botanicals, the what happens behind the scenes is as exciting, if not more exciting, than the actual finished product, because people like yourself, people within our network that have skills and gifts in different areas, of herbal medicine make this a forever. I'm forever growing. I'm forever learning, as a formulator myself. But when you know what really goes into a product and you walk through a Sephora or you're looking at an online beauty store or wherever you may be, how do you know? How do you sort through all the information out there? And, we've been so conditioned with marketing and promotion, because it's $1 billion industry. When you back into what we are actually doing, the hands on art of making herbal medicine is where the magic really happens. And when people use it, whether it's an internal tincture, such as the things that you make for Red Moon Herbs, for internal support, or the plants that you help us wildcraft and produce for our formulations, it's amazing. And when you were showing St. John's wort, that beautiful rich red color, that is amazing, you guys. And St. John's wort is used in our products, is used in my elixir and the lipid booster, and it's used for many reasons, but it has so many different benefits and properties, but it's highly antioxidant. And it's a very, very, very important ingredient in anti-aging formulations that I like to mix with things like, oh gosh, lots of things, but white birch bark, as is a wonderful one to blend with that.
But the comfrey oil, that I think you use quite a bit of comfrey leaf and root, don't you, in your blend?
Absolutely. And comfrey is, oh my gosh, that was Dr. Phil's favorite plant of all because it's nature's most powerful healing plant. And there's a lot of healing power in the roots and in the leaves. And sometimes you mix them, sometimes you use them separately. It depends on what you're trying to make. But comfrey in the herb world is called knit bone. You have a comfrey leaf. Look at that.
Yeah, and it's scratchy, but, once it's broken, you can see the mucilage and the juiciness just comes out. But
Yes.
this is one you do have to be cautious with when processing fresh. You kinda have to wilt it or either dry it down. It's just so moist, it can ruin if especially when processing in oils, because
Yeah.
oil and water don't mix. But this is an amazing plant, and you could even, if it's in your garden, just like plantain, which is in the wild, you chew these up or you break them up, and you can use it right away on a bee sting or
I've got to tell you, what you're holding in your hand, the plantain, saved my husband's life. I want everybody to understand this is a very real story, and this is growing abundantly in your yards. And it's a little flat, like, what's the word I want to use to describe how it looks if you're growing it in the whole plant? It's just a flat plant, right?
Yes,
But
there might be 4 or 5 flat on the ground together.
right.
At
And
the ribs.
Dr. Phil was viciously or tremendously allergic to bee stings. Long story made very short, this was probably almost 30 years ago, but he went to open the door of his truck where you put your hand up underneath, and bees had made a little nest up in there overnight, and it was a full on attack. To make a long story, this is hard because it's an incredible story. It was God's intervention, absolutely. And he had worked with natural medicine forever. It was before we had cell phones, and we lived out in the country. And the tailgate was down on the back of his truck. He didn't know how to reach me, and he was at home by himself. He was sitting there and watched going up his arm a red line, and that was bee venom. And it was headed, and his heart started, it was elevated, it was pounding. He's like, he knew he was in serious trouble. And what was he going to do? Remember, we were talking about what's growing right around you, right? He happened, and his knowledge kicked in, because at first he was scared. It's like, this is bad. He sat on the back of his truck and he looked around and was like, oh my God, and saw plantain. He said, "Oh my God, there it is. There's the wound. There's the medicine right there." He got up. Do you see how Jeannie just took a bite of that? And it's really kind of tasty. You can throw it in your salad. But anyway, let me stay focused. So he went over and grabbed a handful of plantain, shook the dirt off of it, and put it in his mouth to chew it, because he had to chew it because the enzymes in the saliva and chewing it extracts the medicine. Whereas if he had just rubbed it, it wouldn't have had quite the same kind of power. So he chewed that up for about a minute, spit it out, put it on the bee sting, and sat there for about 30 minutes and just held it. And he watched that streak come all the way back down his hand, and it pulled the poison out right there on the spot. It saved his life, and it fueled his passion to teach this to everybody. He wanted the whole world to understand how powerful plant medicine is, and that it exists right under our feet, and we don't even recognize it when we see it. But plantain is also in my products. I like to mix it with jewelweed and St. John's wort also.
Jewelweed here.
Oh,
Yeah.
jewelweed. Oh, tell us about jewelweed, because that's also an antidote for poison ivy, poison oak. It's great for itching, irritated skin. Please tell us about jewelweed.
Sure. This is impatient species. So some of you may have played with when it forms the pod with the seeds and you touch it. Some people call it touch me not or Johnny jump up or other names like that. You touch it when this it's gone to seed and so it's prolific. It shoots the seeds off. Kids love it. And when it rains or there's a mist in the morning, you the beads of water show on the leaf and look like jewels. That's the common name, jewelweed. But this plant is extremely demulcent and watery in the stems. And what we do with this, because it's high in saponins, just like when you had your old fashioned lye soap, um, oil and lye together create saponins. So does English ivy, the invasive. But this we cut up and we pour some boiling water over it and let it sit because saponins extract in water. So we use this fresh and and then we add alcohol to preserve it. Now you use it in a few things, I think, but
Yes.
you're getting this wild crafted and processing it fresh because this is back to, there's a 1 month window for this one. St. John's might even be a 2 week window. There might be a 1 month window for this, and you have to be on the lookout because you want it when the tops are flowering. And the water turns a brilliant orange. So it's pulling out the constituents that are beneficial. And so the saponins help pre before exposing yourself to poison ivy out in nature, before gardening, or after. You can use it to wash your hands. And so it's a protective measure before or after once you've maybe exposed yourself.
Jeannie, I'd like to talk to the folks that probably may not have the gardening background, but let's talk about jewelweed and why it's so important in some of my products, because I work with people who have all types of skin procedures, where they're, let's say, ablative procedures, whether it's peels or lasers or anti-aging, whatever. Or maybe we have a real problem skin with someone with dermatitis and itchy, dry, red skin. That's why that plant becomes so powerful, because it stops and alleviates the itching that goes along with freshly peeled skin or skin that's going through a process, or people who are having all types of itchy anything, right? And even if it's a candida, but if it's some kind of a fungal issue, although that's not antifungal, but it will stop the itching from it. Or let's just say it's super dry skin. How many people can understand super dry skin gets very itchy? So I use that in formulations for those super dry skin conditions. And not only does it alleviate the issue, but it helps to heal the skin at the same time. So we all think, you guys that are listening to us today, each one of us is thinking about the same thing in a different way. And Jeannie is the one that's actually, you can go into her herb kitchen and it's incredible, and watch how she actually extracts the medicine from the roots or the plants to create it to be able to communicate with me. So I can say, Jeannie, we need to do A, B, or C. And she says, okay, well, we could do this, but your window of time, like she's talking about, maybe it's seasonal, maybe that's a challenge. So that's why, again, all the stuff that sells tons of products about it's natural, it's green, it's wonderful, it's this, it's that. The word organic is thrown around like what? I mean, it doesn't mean anything anymore, because unfortunately, people don't know what they don't know. They don't really know what those terms mean. So that's why bringing the folks to you that I choose to bring onto my podcast can help us learn, so that we can be a more informed consumer and we know who to reach out to because we all need resources for different reasons. Now, I want to touch on the fact that you were talking about using alcohol in the in the processing method. I want to tell everybody what that is. This is not alcohol that you might be thinking. This is 100 proof vodka. So it's not rubbing alcohol. It's not anything other than it. The word menstruum means it's a medium. It's a way to extract a medicine when it's being tinctured. Oh, I use that word a lot. You'll have to help everybody learn what a tincture is. And I want you to come back so you can show everybody how they can even make a simple
Sure.
herbal
Yeah.
tincture for the winter. If you guys would like that, let us know because I would love to go into the herb kitchen and have Jeannie show us how to take 100 proof vodka and some roots, some berries, maybe some elderberry tincture for fall to boost
Yeah,
the.
it's happening right now. The elderberry is fresh as we speak, and it's turning to a nice purple black color, and the
That would
birds,
be
we just
amazing.
have to beat the birds, you
There
know?
you go. Story of my life. Anyway, would you come back one day and show us how to
Sure.
make a
Yeah.
basic tincture?
I love that. I'm more a hands-on person anyway.
That's
If I
amazing.
could just forage, farm, and make things for fun, I'd be doing that all the time
There
instead of paperwork, right?
you go. There you go. Well, that is the
The
devil's in the details, right?
Yeah,
Um,
this plant
anyway,
is likes to be close to water, and you don't want to use this one internally. Even though you saw me eat a plantain leaf, which is helpful for digestion, you don't want to consume jewelweed. It's not favorable.
now,
I
what
do want to say that.
before we get off this call, I do want to mention some resources, and so people that are hearing this and really identifying with feeling it because you feel the energy. It's so amazing, and when you are empowered by someone that knows what they're doing to make your own medicine, it's a game changer. It truly is. But you need good resources and good books. I don't have it in front of me, but we'll put a link on the recording so you can find my husband's book called Practical Herbalism by Dr. Philip Fritchey. And it's a wonderful field guide. So you can take it out into the wild, especially on the East Coast, and find probably 36 of his most favorite plants so you would know what to do with it. So I told him, I said, you needed to name that book Herbalism for Dummies because I can even do it, right? So anyway, it's really fun. And Jeannie's got great resources too that I'd like for you to mention before we leave today, but we'll come back to that. But there are great books that if you've never done anything like this before and you just want to learn the basics, Jeannie's the one that will give us some great titles and tell us more about Heather's new book. Heather's a whole nother story. We'll have to have Heather on one day. She's brilliant. Anyway, um, tell us about and I'm looking at my notes because I have more that I want to talk to you about, I think, than we have time for on this segment today. But can you speak directly to all the people who are overwhelmed, confused? They hear conflicting information. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're here, they're there. Excuse me. And I know you're there as well. Can you give us, please, some basic things to look for or ways to, you know, turn the meter on where we can see red flags? How do we know what we're listening to?
Sure. Yeah. I do feel like if you ask around in your area for who is a reputable herbalist or maker, that's a good first start, or your region. There's a lot of people who are making claims, so that's a red flag for me because the FDA for I'm guided by the FDA, and we can't make claims for internal dietary supplements. So if you see somebody doing that, now if they're a teacher educator and they do that, that's fine. They can tell you how it's beneficial to them. But I love people that tell the stories of their ancestors. They talk about their grandma. They also might say, I had, like you were talking about Dr. Phil with the plantain. You hear these stories, there's some authenticity there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are fake it till you make it, or they're just throwing some information out there or resharing what they heard. So, we'll talk about a few of the books, but Rosemary Gladstar, who you've already had, and you're gonna have her on. This is a great, like, if you see people maybe making a recipe from Family Herbal or some of her other books on YouTube or TikTok, this is a good place to start. There's so many vibrant herbal recipes in here. So, it's called The Family Herbal, A Guide to Living Life with Energy, Health, and Vitality. So look for people that might talk about that. There's foragers who walk in the wild and talk, if they're throwing the genus and species out, then they prout the actual scientific name, not just the common names, because common names vary from area to area. Look for things like that.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah.
There are some amazing herbs that I would love for you to talk about. One that has really caught my attention that I really want to work with more. Would you tell us about lion's mane?
Oh, yes. It's very hot right now, and I'm glad it's getting the attention it deserves because this is it's a white mushroom that grows on old hardwood, like dying or dead. Things not Things sporulate and enter a plant sometimes as it's dying or after the wood is decomposing. You can see some various mushrooms come out in the wild. This one I've seen in the wild very infrequently. So more people are inoculating logs and putting these in the soil or growing these mushrooms on uh, rice bags or other material that then feeds it, and it creates the mycelium, which is the interconnectedness of the part you don't see. The fruiting body is what you see on a mushroom,
What
but then
does
there's
it
a whole
do, G?
network underneath the
What
ground.
does it do? What does it do?
So, it is some there's some research. Most of the research has been on cognitive decline folks, that they focused on that. How did this help someone who's having some circulatory issues in the brain or some cognitive decline? So, what more recently is happening is they're actually studying in vivo with humans, youthful folks with brain function that's probably more normal, and seeing that it may increase function there. So you've got a mushroom that really is like, and whether it's yet to be seen because the skin, the digestion, and the brain are kind of all connected. So I'm curious to see what how you end up using it topically. But we use it for internal use in a dietary supplement, and we process it in a water extraction and an alcohol extraction, and then we merge the two. And it's important with all the mushrooms, not just lion's mane, that it gets extracted. So if you're drinking these coffee drinks and some may have lion's mane in them, or you're drinking these tea substitutes, make sure the company has extracted it first before they dehydrated it back for you to make a quick drink. So lion's mane to me is circulatory. I can't speak as a maker, I can't speak, but I would recommend people go look because there's conversations of, you know, blood-brain barrier and all this.
I
So
can
that's something you can speak on this.
because I don't make the product, so I can do that. Guys, I think this is so important. And we're going to segue here into as we build. Okay, I can tell you what it does better. And I think it's so important, especially now with stress, with life as we know it here on planet Earth. Everybody's brain needs all the support I think that it can get. ADD, ADHD, any of those other types of things where the brain is a living organ. It needs food, it needs nutrients, it needs omega-3 fatty acids, to function properly. And when I dove into and I actually stumbled across lion's mane, the more I started to read, the deeper I got into this. And I think this is a very important element that could be incorporated into someone's, daily supplements and nutritional programs and blended together. So do your own research, look up lion's mane, and it is a mushroom with some amazing properties and a lot of promise, I believe, for the brain.
It's
So,
definitely one you can just eat and enjoy too. It sautés up nicely,
oh, really?
and to eat
You've cooked
mhm.
with it? You've
It's
cooked with
very
it?
it's choice, mhm.
Oh, it
It's
is.
choice. Yeah. So if you can find local folks who are selling it, sometimes it's at the farmer's market fresh, and you can process that fresh. Now it takes about 10 or 11 pounds fresh to make 1 pound dried. So it's challenging to find great sourcing for us where the cuz the folks can go to the tailgate market and sell you a little piece that you can enjoy. It's got a hearty, meaty flavor to it. It goes nice with butter or olive oil and
If
sauté with a
if
little
you're
garlic.
buying this at a market, is it would it be called lion's mane, or is there a botanical name? It's just called
Um,
lion.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think you're gonna see it as the common name, lion's mane at the market. Mhm, but yeah, check it out.
That's amazing. Guys, as we go into fall and winter, building up our immune system and focusing on gut health, digestion, elimination, and building the immune system is going to do more for clear, vibrant, beautiful skin than just about anything else. And we can have drawers full of products and supplements, you name it. But I'm all about focus and just really kind of hitting some key targets, because consistency is as important as what you're doing itself, because it's easy to, do something for a few weeks and then we go on to something else. Stay focused, my recommendation, on building good gut health, herbs, enzymes. I'm a huge enzyme person, and that goes back to all our good foods. And when you bring in these herbs and mushrooms that Jeannie's talking about, and when she and I collaborate about how I'm going to take a raw material, this happens a lot, that I want to put in a formula, she helps me determine fresh, dried, how or which way are we going to go as a product developer, what makes the most sense for what I'm trying to achieve, and how do I do this so I get the most medicinal benefits out of the herb. So I'm giving you guys a little peek into how we do things. And, it's very much a collaborative thing. And through these collaborations together, we can, and we've done it, haven't we, Jeannie? We can come up with some, oh, wow, that's exactly what we need to do here. So that's the power in this to me. And so I would talk to me a little bit more. Let me look at my notes here for just a minute. Um, wow, when we're talking about TikTok and all the confusion, there is a lot of buzzwords being used: wildcrafted, organic, fresh, you name it. And it doesn't even really have much of a meaning anymore. So I would encourage everybody to really, get a good book or two or three or four or five and, start to educate yourself so that when you are looking at a brand or a product or a supplement, you know enough about it to know if you're in the right place, and if you're with someone that has your best interest at heart, who can help you know, is this or is this not the right type of ingredient or formulation for you. Jeannie, you have wow, you've got some great tinctures in your line. I love it. If you go to redmoonherbs.com, she's got the liquid tinctures, and I love it because capsules can be a lot, and sometimes certain things have to be done in capsules. But Jeannie's liquids, you know exactly where those things come from, right? And I will tell you the potency of your products. She's here because she's impressed me, and she knows what she's doing, and she's a great resource. So tell us more about your herbs and even some of your education. Don't you do some training now online, and you have some live training available?
We definitely do. So one thing I'll state about the what we do use, which is similar to 100 proof vodka, because you were talking about 100 proof vodka. We use organic cane alcohol and dilute it to
Oh,
100 proof. Some of the things that are woody or tough, we may end up having to simmer or decoct those and then use a higher proof alcohol to blend the two together, like in a double extraction. But something like this time of year, hawthorn, the berries ready. I did want to point out this goldenrod, like you were talking about coming into the seasons of transition. So late summer and early fall, goldenrod's in bloom, and you'll see this in many regions of North America. And this is a great one. You can do something at home with this. You can take the flowering tops, and some leaf is okay too, some leaf and stem, because this time of year, the sun is bursting with heat. So we're going to focus on flowering tops, and we're going to process those most of the time fresh, 1 part fresh flour to 2 parts alcohol and water. So that's our process, small batch. We might have a gallon of one thing, up to 5 gallons. We're not doing huge manufacturing. There is equipment out there and it's wonderful. You can get an amazing extraction from various processes, but ours is kind of like just basic, like your grandma would have done.
It's so boutiquey. I've just got to say, the hands-on small batch nature of the way that our products are made and the way that you make things is where the magic is. It's just, it's boutiquey, I guess. It's just
I
not
mean,
a
you're definitely connecting, like I'm touch it's hard to remember what a plant is if you didn't get an experience with it in the
right.
wild or in your garden. So I'm sure when your audience might be like, let me go look in my grass and see what's, find plantain, chickweed, violets, all these things, but or look on the side of the road and see this beautiful golden color alongside purple ironweed right now. So this is one, for you're talking about transitioning seasons. This is especially supportive of urinary health, kidneys, and that sort of function. So you could chop this up and put it in a vinegar and use it on salads, let it sit a couple of weeks to 6 weeks. The other thing with this time of year as we go into, okay, the flowers are dying back now. So then we're going to move after we usually wait till the first frost. We're going to move into the root season. And Heather, who's worked with both Emily and I with this backyard guide to edible wild plants, it's a good, look, my marker is plantain. I like to use plants as my bookmark. But burdock is a great one because it's the food as medicine, like Hippocrates spoke on, let your medicine be your food. But anyhow, in Japan, this is gobo. So you can eat the roots, you can peel the root off, or you can get more benefits by keeping the skins on. Some people pickle it, and you've probably seen the cockleburs or the little things that stick to your dog or your legs when you're walking, because this is Arctium lapa, and it has naturalized here, even though it's non-native.
Do you know
Uh,
I use burdock in my acne formulations, our product called the Redness Relief Bar with Poudiarco and licorice root. It's incredible for acne skins or a lot of irritated or eruptive skin conditions. So burdock is amazing. And internally, I have to speak to that too. It's a great blood cleanser. And if that's used as a tincture with other herbs, it can help clean the blood as
it
well.
has
Excellent
affinity to
job.
support the liver along the lines of blood and liver. And a lot of times you'll see if you're a healthy liver shows healthy skin.
Yes.
So this is where we combine those organs with our biggest organ of the body. And so burdock is really good topically and internally. We use it in deep roots, burdock, dandelion, and yellow dock, and those are wild foraged. They're processed fresh, 1/3 of each in that formula. Or as burdock as a simple, if you're just looking for a liver tonifying, this is something you might take daily, or eat your gobo, or eat your burdock pickles. You don't have to, if you're not the type to take this, I do say try to get liquid phytocaps where they concentrated the extract into a pill. Dry herb in glycerin excuse me, the vegetable capsule pills. You don't know how old that dry herb is. So processing liquid phytocap, Gaia Herbs makes those, other companies, or using a fresh tincture. If you do not like the taste of this, you can always add it to a little water or eating your food as medicine. That's
You
all.
know, it's so funny because root vegetables, I could live on root vegetables year round. And I got tickled. I thought, well, I'm a true Capricorn because I'm an earth sign. So it's very, very earthy. you know, and I love anything grows underground, the roots, the docks, the radishes, the carrots, the turnips, right?
Mhm. And
Just
energetically speaking, they're very grounding because in winter or fall, we wanna go back, kinda be inward. We're not out. We're not in our bikinis at the beach. We're not we're not in the forest as much. It's kinda cold. So as we go inward, the going to root vegetables, soups, these hearty, warming things for our core, and you can incorporate some of these wild foods or these herbal plants in with your, regular ones you find at the grocery store.
hey,
Mm.
we kinda got off track though. Tell us about your education, your training.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't remember the question.
Right.
So, we do have we took an old United Methodist church, and it is surrounded by plants now. We do production in what was the fellowship hall, and the chapel is open for classes. So, we have several other teachers that come in. I sometimes teach the basics of, herbal extracts, making a vinegar, making an oil infused, and making a salve. We'll have guests soon. We have a pianist and hammered dulcimer musician who's going to come, and it's going to be more of like a relaxation thing. And he plays to each person, like the energy shifts within the room, and you can relax on a yoga mat or in a recliner or on a bean bag. We have several, places to relax, or you can dance. So that's one class coming up. We do community pours for after the storm. Appalachian Herb Collective was formed. It's a group of herbalists in the Western North Carolina area, and we serve Western North Carolina and into Erwin, Tennessee. And we come together, and whatever people have donated, it might be various bulk herbs, something they foraged and dried. We make a tea blend. Usually it's something for chilling out and nervous system support. And then we pour. We sit and we pour 1 ounce bottles. They're a little smaller than this. And we'll pour 50 to 100. Last pour a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, we poured over 500 extracts for
That
folks.
that is amazing.
So, and then
I
we
have
give
to
to the
tell
community.
everybody the name of her, it's the
Oh,
cutest.
yeah.
We took this picture this, okay, wait a minute. You gotta picture this. This cute little church that was abandoned, it was just there in the wild with all this wonderful making and all of God's medicine in here. It's just awesome, and they call it the Church of the Holy Basil.
We have the basil is blowing up around it this year. Of course, the elder. So I do want to respect my elders in this. The
Yes.
elder loves all sides of the Church of the Holy Basil, and so does the Tulsi. But you do have to. Sometimes the Tulsi will reseed itself. It is a tropical plant, but the elder's native, and the we can share with the birds and pollinators.
Yeah.
That's one beautiful thing about the jewelweed that we were talking about earlier. Hummingbirds love, and it's native. So, in your process of looking at what's in your yard and you've got exotic invasives, maybe consider pulling some of those up and putting, getting a little bit of this seed, throwing it. It likes wet feet. So down by the creek or in the moisture of at the forest edge. All these, this is going to be in nature. You can plant solidago species. There's a lot of different goldenrods. There's a lot of native ones. So, definitely look to put some of those in your landscape. And let's return back to what was here. And then let's also use the exotic invasives. You got things like kudzu, Japanese knotweed. People are doing research on, some of the benefits of some of the health benefits, Oriental bittersweet, privet, Japanese stiltgrass. I let
I
my
I
dog
I
go wild.
I've gotta jump on
Covered.
something you just mentioned because this is the real deal. Kudzu, who would have ever known? Okay, if you're from the South or you've ever been through the South, it takes over. It's a weed. Do you know that kudzu is very powerful to treat alcoholism and cuts alcohol cravings? It's the truth. It works. You can do the research. There are some wonderful manufacturers that produce it. I've been doing the research on it as well because if you are on social media, you'll see all kinds of things pop up about, everybody's drinking more these days and people are looking for ways to be able to change that area of their life. Guys, kudzu, if you just Google kudzu and alcoholism or kudzu and alcohol, KUDZU, alcohol cravings, you will be blown away at the science and the information that's available. And there is another wonderful book called the validation, the scientific validation of herbal medicine. There is an herbal PDR. This is serious stuff. This is, although a lot of the language and things that you hear us talking about is very folklore, it's very folk medicine, really. But the science is real and it is there. And the alternatives that are available for us as alternatives to drugs, pharmaceuticals for both protection, prevention, and healing are incredible. So we could talk about this all day. I'd kind of like to maybe look at wrap before we have to wrap up, Jeannie. I'd like to we're guys, we're going to have some links that she's going to give us for links and information that will be here on this podcast, so you can certainly use it for reference. But I would highly recommend that you go to redmoonherbs.com and look at some of her herbal tinctures. The art and science of what she's got, she's a great resource. In fact, my own cupboard's running a little low, and it's time to get stocked up on my own things for fall. So if you're looking at aging or problem skin conditions, remember gut, liver, digestion, reducing stress, improving our overall nutrition, and returning. Let's go back to our roots, because that's where the healing is. That's where the heart is. And there are some beautiful people like Jeannie in this world that have dedicated their lives to this beautiful art. And we're very grateful for you for that. And I'd like to know what your direction or what you would like to say to our audience before we have to wrap up, because we've covered a lot. I hope you guys have been able to understand these beautiful plants are real, and it's what my brand is all about, but it's all about the people and the why we do what we do. So can you give us some parting thoughts?
Sure. The people definitely are what keep me going. When I hear testimonials or someone comes back and tells me a story of how it helped, we have plantain, yarrow, and comfrey root and leaf in green wonder salve. And someone said, my mom was elderly and was having some issues with the skin, bed sores, that kind of thing. And to hear that, and I'm sure you've had that testimonial on some of your stuff, to have that keeps me going. To
Yes,
speak for the plants keeps me going, because there's many that are diminishing in populations. So keeping those going. And just even if you're in the city, if you have a small shade garden, look at the natives that you can put there. If you have a sunny field and you know, also observe the four seasons of your yard, or even in your apartment complex, or wherever you are, if you're traveling. Look at spring, summer, fall, and winter and see the difference, and see what you observe at the young shoots that are coming up in spring, what things look like as they've gone into the ground and they still have their skeletal seed pods. And that's it, scattering those seeds. Part of the sustainable foraging and sustainable cultivating is that we replant things. We do partial root harvest. We only take flowering tops, but not the whole stand. There's things you do to keep this going, proliferating. And just, know your sources. Support a small farmer. If you can go to the tailgate market once a month, support that person. There's people with herbs, there's people with herbal products. There's also farmers who you make a big difference by coming once a month and
absolutely.
buy a few things from them. It makes the world a difference. Know your food. Big corporations, there's the farm bill, there's all these things. Things are grown very conventional, they're getting subsidized by the government. Please support regional and local farmers instead, because you don't know how far off your food is from
Absolutely.
your table. So,
Will you come back, please, and
yeah,
show us how to make a couple beautiful things for ourselves?
absolutely.
That would be awesome,
I
guys.
love that. A book I'm crazy about now, just because I want to see more people. One quick thing we can do. I'm very excited about this. Dr. Doug Tallamy, How Can I Help? He answers 499 questions. one thing we can do, because the moth and butterfly population is being hurt by our incandescent and UV light on the outside of our house. The one thing you can do is change your bulbs to yellow bulbs. And because this feeds the whole food chain, think
Yes. Did you?
birds,
I,
caterpillars,
I
you know.
just saw I just saw an announcement that they're bringing back the incandescent bulbs. Did you see that? Because there was a law, and I shouldn't even bring it up because I don't know all the details, but when everything was going to the cool light and the LED and all of that, and there was some government something that, those were going to be gone forever. It was, I believe, a move of Bobby Kennedy. You might want to look it up because I'm not
Okay.
going to an attempt to tell you what it was, but I was very excited because I'm very, very sensitive to light, and the incandescent bulbs and the things that you're talking about that had been so hard to find are now going to, they're coming back. So I need to go look it up again and understand the details myself.
So, but the
That's
main thing is that the moths are looking like to white light because it looks like the moon, and that's where their cycles are. So, getting the yellow light is really important for
yes,
the outdoor floodlights.
that's awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us again today on this episode with Jeannie Dunn from redmoonherbs.com. And thank you for taking the time to just join us. We want to hear your feedback. Please send us your comments. And we look forward to bringing you some more exciting information and some great new guests on our next episode. Jeannie, thank you.